6 hostile fighter jets,
31,000 feet,
closing in on American pilots who had no idea they were being hunted.
The enemy's targeting systems were seconds away from lock-on.
But there was one problem with their plan. They didn't know about the ghost, the pilot they'd mocked, the aircraft they'd called the dumpster, the woman he was about to rewrite
Every rule of modern air
combat without firing a single shot. This is the true story of Captain Emma Lawson
and the 18 hours that changed everything.
The Nevada sun hit like a hammer at 07 for 5 hours as Captain Emma Lawson crossed the tarmac at Nellis Air Force Base. 22 years of service,
A 10 Warthogs over Kandahar,
F-16 Vipers in Syria, 2 combat missions so
flawless, they were now case studies at Maxwell.
Air Force Base. She had the medals, the scars,
The respect of every squadron she'd ever flown with.
until now.
Her new assignment waited at the edge of the flight line, and it looked like something pulled from a junkyard, a patched-together experimental airframe with mismatched panels and black box avionics nobody understood.
The other pilots had taken one look and started laughing.
They called it the Ghost Dumpster. By noon, someone had taped a cartoon trash can to her locker. Another pilot left a rusted bolt with a note, "Spare part for your beast."
The squadron Redbird treated her like she was invisible. Cold shoulders in the mess hall.
Awkward silences at briefings. No one would even make eye contact. The worst was Captain Valente, 27 years old.
Hot shot. Flew red flag twice. He started calling her Ma'am Dumpster with a smirk that made everyone laugh.
The first time, Emma clenched her jaw and walked away,
The 5th time, she nearly snapped her pen during roll call.
but she never broke.
While the others hit the gym or played video games, Emma stayed in the simulator until midnight. She memorized every quirk of that strange aircraft. Jerky thrust lag.
Stubborn HUD. Systems that responded half a beat to slow.
She learned its rhythm like a musician learns an old instrument. Nobody asked why she stayed late. Nobody cared. What hurt most wasn't the jokes. It was the loneliness.
She'd felt more brotherhood in a combat tent in Bagram than here. Surrounded by her own countrymen, the laughter from down the hall each night reminded her exactly where she stood.
Nowhere.
At 2,105 hours, lying on her bunk in the dark, Emma stared at the ceiling, her hands curled into fists under the blanket. She didn't cry, she hadn't in years, but somewhere
Beneath all the discipline,
anger fought with the ache of being unwanted. She told herself to wait.
prove it in the sky.
That's how she'd always done it.
Let them laugh now.
When it counted, they wouldn't be. At 05 for 0 hours, Emma's phone buzzed. A voice she didn't recognize gave her one instruction. Building 17, lower level, room 3C within the hour.
No explanation. By 06 to 5, she stood outside a reinforced steel door.
Security checked her credentials twice. The room inside was windowless and cold.
A single flag hung behind an oak table. General Robert Hayes sat waiting.
Deputy Director of Special Programs, the kind of man who'd spent decades in the shadows. He placed a sealed folder on the table, top secret in red letters.
Next to it,
A non-disclosure agreement already prepared with her name typed across the top. Emma didn't hesitate.
she read it, signed it, dated it.
Hayes slid the folder toward her.
Inside were schematics unlike anything she'd ever seen.
Engine profiles,
Radar signatures.
technical specifications that made her pulse quicken. A next-generation stealth strike platform. Twin engine, vectored thrust,
Active camouflage skin.
operational but untested in real combat. Developed in complete secrecy.
No public record. No paper trail.
There are only 3 people cleared to fly it, Hayes said quietly. 2 are deployed in the Pacific Theater.
You were the third. Emma's face remained calm. But inside, everything clicked into place. This was why she was here. Not as punishment.
As selection.
Hayes outlined the mission parameters. Everything was classified beyond top secret.
Her own commanding officer couldn't know.
Operations would be conducted under cover of standard training exercises.
All maintenance internal. No contractors. No records outside this room. You weren't chosen by chance, Captain, Hayes said as he stood.
You were watched. Every flight. Every decision. Every moment you stayed late when others went home. Emma nodded once. She understood. This was what black programs looked like. Quiet. Clinical. Built on trust and not in words, but in silence and time. At 0735, Emma followed Hayes through 3 security checkpoints, retinal scans, biometric verification,
Signal blockers.
By the time they reached the final door,
She knew they were somewhere that didn't exist on any map.
the door hissed open. The hammer lights were dimmed to protect the aircraft's specialized coating.
But even in that soft glow, What Emma saw pulled all the air from her lungs. The Phantom Raven sat low to the ground, its surface matte black and seamless like liquid shadow. The skin shimmered slightly under the lights, adjusting in real time. Active optical camouflage, not theoretical. Real. Emma approached slowly, instinctively reverent. The aircraft broke every rule of conventional design. Blended wing body. No vertical stabilizers. No rivet lines. No external hardpoints. Everything was smooth, buried, invisible. The canopy was flush with the fuselage, nearly invisible when closed. A technician keyed a control panel and it lifted with a soft hydraulic whine. Inside, the cockpit was unlike anything she'd flown. No traditional stick or throttle, just touch-sensitive interfaces and a flexible control glove. Screens surrounded the reclined seat. Fly-by-light systems, AI-assisted threat processing. To the left, passive detection nodes glow to life. Infrared monitoring. Real-time radio frequency mapping. No radar pings. No emissions. The aircraft watched the world without making a sound. Next to that, a panel labeled ECM, active jammers, directional pulse countermeasures, decoys ready to deploy without ever igniting a flare. Emma had flown F-35S and Block 70 Vipers. She'd even tested classified UAVs, but this was different. This wasn't science fiction. This was the next step the world wasn't ready to know existed. Haze finally broke the silence. It listens before it moves. It thinks before it climbs. It doesn't forget. Emma nodded once. She didn't need convincing. She was already in. At 1,620 hours, Emma sat in the Phantom Raven on the taxiway. For F-35S from Redbird Squadron spread out ahead of her. Standard patrol exercise. Nothing unusual. Valenti's voice crackled over comms. Bored and dismissive. Dumpster 1, try not to break down out there. The big kids are watching. Laughter followed. Casual. Careless. Emma said nothing, just kept her sensors on passive and climbed to 31,000 feet. At 1,638, something appeared on her display that shouldn't have been there. A faint electromagnetic ripple just outside standard radar bands. It pulsed once, vanished, then returned 3 seconds later. Stronger. None of the F-35s detected it. Their systems showed clear skies. Emma toggled her electronic warfare suite to scan pattern trace. The signal was coming from high above the western approach. Focused, purposeful, dangerous. Redbird 1, Ghost 1, she said calmly. Unusual spike west of grid 7. Recommend vector for confirmation. 2 seconds of silence. Then Valenti's clipped reply. Negative, nothing on scope. Stay online. Someone muttered. Dumpsters ghost hunting again. Emma cut her MIC. She didn't argue. She just adjusted course 6 degrees without announcing it and slipped out of formation. The Phantom Raven's signature dropped to near zero. The camouflage mesh adjusted. She became invisible. At 1,647, her senses tacked to return echoes. Slow, high, no transponder, no AFF identification. These weren't friendless. Emma watched as the signatures tightened their vector toward Redbird's airspace. Their beam jammers were masking conventional radar, but they hadn't accounted for subharmonic spectrum detection. She opened her ECM suite and launched an active decoy. One pulse, silent. Instant. The two unknowns veered hard at 1,651. Suddenly disoriented, their targeting systems broke lock and began frantically reinitializing. Within 30 seconds, the contacts disappeared back into dead airspace. Redbird never saw them. Valenti's confused voice returned. Got a flicker on my RWR. Anybody else catch that? Another pilot chimed in. Might have been solar bounce. Weird angle. Emma said nothing. They landed at 1,708 hours. In the debrief room, Valenti glanced at her once. Ghost 1, anything to report? She met his eyes. Calm. Clear. Nothing that showed up on your scope, sir. Nobody pushed. But the room was quiet. Suspiciously quiet. For the first time, the silence wasn't mockery. It was attention. 3 days later, at 1,420 hours, Redbird flew a routine reconnaissance scored 35 miles of the coast. Emma held position of the right flank. Sensors passive. Comms silent. At 1,427, 6 unknown contacts appeared on her threat matrix. Lobe and radar scatter. Altitude 29,000 feet and climbing. Transponders off. No IFF. They weren't part of the exercise. Redbird led. Ghost 1, Emma said. Advise vector conflict. Recommend skin south by grid 14. Valenti's reply was casual. Ghost, we're clean. Probably shadow return of the drone. No course correction. No concern. At 1,431, the The targets broke into combat spread formation. That wasn't a shadow.
That was an attack pattern. Emma brought the Raven lower, trailing half a mile behind Redbird.
She reconfigured her jamming suite and began active denial silent. Disruption across enemy radar bands. She was blanking Redbird from enemy fire control, and they didn't even know it. Her targeting node isolated one hostile attempting to achieve lock.
She deployed a decoy drone from her payload bay,
vectoring it 10 degrees of axis.
Within seconds, a radar seeking signal tagged the drone and followed it west.
One threat peeled off.
5 remained. Did you see that pulse on primary? An F-35 pilot asked, confused.
Valenti snapped back.
Stay tight.
It's a training artifact. Ghost, what are you doing back there?
Emma didn't answer. She deployed a second decoy, mimicking the recon drone's electronic signature.
2 more enemy aircraft adjusted heading, chasing the false track.
Their targeting indicators never reached Redbird.
None of them knew how close they'd come to being locked on by hostile aircraft. At 1,436, the remaining enemies turned away. Their sensors couldn't find what they were hunting.
One by one, they faded from Emma's display.
Valenti exhaled over comms.
Rar's clear now. Weird glitch. Another pilot added. Yeah, maybe sunspot interference. Nothing on my end anymore. Emma slipped back into formation. Ghost 1 status nominal. That was all. They landed at 1,452 hours. On the tarmac, no one laughed, no jokes. Just quick, uncertain glances.
In the debrief room, logs showed nothing unusual, but the intel team flagged something odd. Spike of jammer interference in the drone's data.
Never traced, never explained.
No one mentioned it out loud.
Emma kept her folder closed.
She didn't need to explain. She didn't need recognition. She only needed them alive.
The next afternoon at 1,504,
Redbird was flying another patrol when Valenti called for a systems check.
Emma didn't respond.
Her Phantom Raven had vanished from every screen.
No radar return, no electronic signature,
no heat signature. Valenti's voice sharpened. Ghost 1, say again. Do you copy? Still nothing.
In truth, Emma had dropped to 100 feet above ground level, sweeping low over terrain at 450 knots. The flight computer handled contour mapping with millisecond corrections.
Her hands rested light on the interface. The active camouflage mesh blended with ground.
Textures in real time while the
airframe's emissions dropped below
detection threshold.
She skimmed ridgelines with her nose tucked.
Just enough to bleed signature.
Off radar loads. The enemy formation held steady on her passive scope, moving near the eastern border.
They didn't see her coming.
Their sensors looked up.
She was below them, inside the noise.
At 1,507, Emma began electronic disruption. Her jammer pod pulsed on precise frequencies,
just enough to distort enemy data links.
Then she activated the GhostNet suite, injecting force return signals into their targeting systems.
Their HUDs lit up with phantom threats in every direction.
One aircraft broke off, then another. Their spacing collapsed.
No comms, no formation integrity. Emma surged through their perimeter in a diagonal climb.
Barely a flicker on the electromagnetic spectrum, a shadow moving through confusion. She launched 0 weapons.
Just deception, timing, control.
By 1,510, the formation scattered.
1 turned north, 2 dropped altitude.
The rest pulled hard east, retreating into non-operational airspace. No alarms were raised on Redbird's channel. They thought the threat had never gotten close.
Emma stayed low, sweeping west.
Her systems cooled. Her profile flattened.
The Raven hummed quiet and clean.
At 1,515, she climbed back above the horizon. Her IFF transponder returned to active. The Phantom Raven blinked back onto Redbird's screens like a ghost reborn. One voice broke the silence.
Ghost 1, where the hell did you go? Emma leveled out.
Her voice came steady. Had to stretch my wings.
All threats cleared.
At 0900 the next morning,
the squadron assembled in the secure briefing room. Badges scanned. Phones locked away.
2 Pentagon officials stood near the front.
An NSA liaison sat in the corner. Emma sat near the back, hands folded.
She hadn't been told what was coming, but she knew. General Hayes entered at 0912 and walked straight to the podium.
The room dimmed.
A large screen lit up with raw sensor lots.
Multiple contacts appeared. 6 unknowns entering the patrol zone.
Then digital overlays showed them losing communications.
Targeting data scrambled.
Formation collapsing.
All within 5 minutes. No one said a word, not even Valenti. Hayes spoke plainly.
Yesterday's incident wasn't an anomaly. It was a covert intercept. Attempt by foreign aircraft flying.
And a deep radar silence.
Only one platform detected them. He turned toward Emma. Ghost 1.
Every eye followed.
Captain Lawson executed full-spectrum electronic disruption, terrain tracked a hostile formation, and neutralized 6 aggressors without firing a single shot. None of you even knew it happened.
He let the words hang heavy in the air.
A second video played.
Intercepted enemy communications. Confused. Panicked. Scattered.
Overlay timestamps marked where decoys triggered.
Radar locks broke, and contact veered away in confusion. When the screen went dark, the silence stayed. Hayes looked around the room.
Some of you questioned
Why a combat veteran with 22 years of service was assigned to an experimental airframe.
You mocked her aircraft.
You doubted her readiness. I'll say this once. She wasn't here to prove anything.
She was here because she already had. He stepped away from the podium. A captain from Alpha Flight stood, cleared his throat, then stopped. He just looked at Emma and gave a short, genuine nod before sitting down.
Others followed, quiet, wordless. Even Valenti turned in his chair, jaw tight, gaze lowered.
He nodded too.
It wasn't much, but it was something.
Emma didn't gloat. She didn't smile.
She just met their eyes one by one. Calm, steady. She wasn't here to be celebrated. She was here to fly.
And now, finally, they understood what that meant. At 1,416 hours,
Emma stepped into the SUIF, beneath Hangar 4th General. Hayes stood beside a
woman in civilian clothes with hard,
calculating eyes. An essay director, Kate Monroe. The kind of person who didn't waste time on pleasantries.
Hayes handed Emma a thick packet. Monroe said only 2 words, "You're going alone." The target was a hardened
military research facility built into coastal cliffs on a disputed island chain. High-value intelligence suggested it housed stolen
U.S. avionics now in active testing. The mission required full-spectrum stealth, cross-border penetration,
and precision reconnaissance without detection.
No ISR support, no AWACS overwatch, no backup. 1 aircraft,
1 pilot. Her. Emma studied the route profile in silence.
1,500 nautical miles round trip.
Hard turn point at waypoint Echo 7.
Terrain following ingress. Nap of the Earth masking.
Full emissions control from liftoff to return.
Fuel was tight. Internal tanks only.
No drop tanks. Nothing that would leave a silhouette.
The Phantom Raven would carry passive SIGINT pods, 1 electronic warfare countermeasures cartridge, and 2 decoy drones for exfiltration if needed. Monroe laid out the contingency. If the facility's command array was exposed and vulnerable,
Emma was cleared to disable it electronically using pulse interference. No trace. No damage that revealed US
involvement. If the shot wasn't clean, extract without contact.
This wasn't combat. This was denial with deniability. At 20:45 hours, Emma sat alone in her quarters,
staring at the mission packet.
She picked up her secure phone and dialed.
Her younger sister answered after 2 rings, groggy but smiling.
Emma didn't say much, just that she might be offline for a few days, maybe longer. She asked about the dog, told her to check the mailbox next week. A long pause hung there before goodbye.
At 0430 hours, Emma walked out onto the tarmac.
The sky was still dark and heavy with silence. Red beacons marked the taxi lights. Beyond them, Hangar 17 stood open.
The Phantom Raven waited inside, lit from below by amber service lights.
The crew chief handed her the final clearance board.
She signed it, nodded, and climbed the ladder.
Inside the cockpit, she moved with practiced calm.
Oxygen levels green. Power cells topped.
Comms locked to standby. Navigation synced to encrypted inertial guidance.
Electronic warfare systems PI warmed but dormant.
She pulled the canopy down, watched it seal with a quiet hiss, and took a long breath in the darkness. At 0458, clearance came through on a tight whisper frequency. 1 line. Coast 1. You're cleared for silent departure. Godspeed. Emma tapped the throttle forward.
Taxied without lights. Felt the jet come alive beneath her hands. The world outside faded away. At 050 hours, the Phantom Raven lifted off into the PI dawn air.
No contrail, no sound above ambient wind. The jet climbed into the black, disappearing into a mission no one would ever see.
She was invisible again.
But this time, she wasn't alone. This time, the mission was hers. 18 hours later, Emma returned.
The Phantom Raven touched down at 2,319 hours under a moonless sky.
No fanfare, no public debrief,
just a silent nod from General Hayes and a sealed envelope marked "Mission complete."
The stolen avionics,
electronically corrupted beyond recovery. The command array, rendered inoperable for months, all without a single weapon fired.
All without anyone knowing she'd been there.
Redbird Squadron never asked where she'd gone.
But the next morning, Valenti found her in the hangar.
Ma'am, he said quietly, I owe you an apology.
Emma looked at him.
No, you don't. You just didn't know. Still, he said,
I should have trusted the people who put you here.
She nodded.
Now you do. And that was enough.
Captain Emma Lawson flew 47 more classified missions over the next 2 years.
She never fired a weapon in anger. She never needed to.
Because the most dangerous warriors aren't the ones who announce their presence. They're the ones who win before the enemy even knows they're there. The ones who operate in silence.
Who sacrifice recognition for results.
Who accept mockery as the price of mission success.
The ones we never see, until it's already over.
If this story reminded you that true strength doesn't need validation, hit that like button.
If you believe the silent warriors deserve to have their stories told,
subscribe to this channel, because their missions may be classified,
but their courage should never be forgotten.
New stories of America's invisible defenders drop every week.
Don't miss them.
Stay strong.
Stay silent.
Stay vigilant.
Silent warriors out.